Hello everybody. So it has been, I think, at least a few months since my last video, and I really wanted to share with you guys. I think it's only fair that I let you know exactly how the tail end of my competition season went. So I think the last time I updated you was right before I went into my second competition of the season, which was the INBF Battle of the Bay in Fremont, California. So since then, I have competed at the INBF Battle of the Bay, but I also competed at WNBF Calgary as well as WNBF Worlds in Seattle. And geez Louise, it's already 7 weeks, just about 7 weeks since competing at WNBF Worlds and wrapping up my entire competition season. So I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of a recap of exactly how my competitions went, letting you know what I learned from the season, some of the big things that I took away from it, what I enjoyed in particular, what I think I can do a whole heck of a lot better the next time around, as well as letting you know what my plans are moving forward into the future here. So it's 2024, we're just getting to the end of the first week of the year. And like a lot of you guys watching this, whether you're a natural bodybuilder or not, you probably have your own health and fitness goals as well. So I'm right there with you. I'm pursuing my own as well. So I'll let you know kind of what my plans are moving forward. So first off, I'll let you know how I did let you know how the WNBF Ontario went. That was great. That was my first competition. Came second in that in the heavyweights, which was amazing. I think that was up to that point, that was my best physique I'd ever showcased on a bodybuilding stage before, which was amazing. That was just my first competition. It was also great in that I met so many other awesome athletes, which what I found in the competition season was one of the best takeaways that I got from the competition season was just meeting so many other natural bodybuilders and being able to connect on that level, in the sense that we have so many of the same shared interests and we're all kind of crazy in our own way because we all go through these crazy bodybuilding preps. So it was very cool to connect with a lot of people right from that first competition. Being on stage was a whole lot of fun, and it also really sparked another level to my drive to keep improving from one competition to the next. So it was 4 weeks until my next competition, which was the INBF Battle of the Bay. So I've got some cool stage pics. I'll show those. Hopefully they'll probably pop up somewhere on the screen here. My physique leveled up in those 4 weeks, so I got leaner. I worked really hard. I increased my step count. I don't think I'm just thinking back, we did not decrease the calories, but we really ramped up my step count to get my energy expenditure higher. It was tough. I definitely got to, and that's something that I found the deeper I got into the one competition after the next, I did become more and more fatigued and tired. And we'll say my body took more of a beating the deeper I got into it, which is to be expecting. That's what we sign up for, especially when we understand that we're getting really, really lean. So the amount of leanness that we get to be on a bodybuilding stage it's a lot different than just looking good on the beach for the summertime. So anyways, as I got deeper, my body was definitely feeling it, but the motivation just was getting higher and higher. So I got to the INBF Battle of the Bay. That was my second competition. My physique, again, was the best it had ever been up to that point. I remember taking some photos in the hotel room and seeing like the way that my glutes looked and like how you could see the lines in them, and my skin looked like paper thin especially before I carved up. I was excited out of my mind. I had never looked like that before. And competing, the competition itself was amazing. So it's one of these ones that I don't think I'll ever forget. A big part of the reason was there's a lot of other 3DMJ athletes there. I think all of them were coached by my coach, Jeff Alberts, 3DMJ, the Godfather. So there was, and I was competing in the middleweights, and I think of the 7 or 8 middleweights that were competing, 4 of them were all Jeff's clients, including myself. And one of them was Eric Helms, which I think Eric works with Jeff and is coached, especially with his posing, I believe. But he was there too, so I got to compete with Eric Helms, which was really, really special. One of those things that I definitely won't forget. But anyways, it was really cool to get to bond, be backstage with those guys, those athletes. So shout out to them. Jordan, Lorenzo, Javier, who else was there? Eric, of course. Jen, of course, too. It was really cool to get to meet all of these people here and to bond with them again, and just to meet part of the 3DMJ family, which was really special. And of course, my coach was there, Jeff was there, so I got to meet him for the first time ever in person, which was also really cool, really, really special. I was fortunate enough to spend some time with him backstage with the other athletes, but also grab a cup of coffee with him at the hotel really early in the morning. We were both waking up super early, such as the nature of contest prep. He was also prepping too, which was really cool. And yeah, it was really special just getting to bond with everybody and share that experience, which was something that I did not foresee myself enjoying so much going into these competitions. Was going into it, I was like all about, I just want to improve my physique. That was a big part of it, but I didn't expect to enjoy the camaraderie between the other athletes, which was, yeah, pretty darn special. Also had a cup of coffee with Coach Brad Loomis too, Jeff and Brad Loomis. So that was really cool. But yeah, competition was great. Placed third there. I got my qualification for Worlds at that competition. So mission accomplished, I suppose. Yeah, and everyone there was so high caliber. I feel like, all of the competitions were high caliber, but I remember being there and being like, man, what have I got myself into? And I remember when I initially signed up I picked the competitions. I went back to past years of these competitions, and I looked at the athlete list at which competitions had the most athletes competing at them, and I picked the competitions that fit my timeline well and that had the most athletes competing at them, for the sole reason that I wanted it to be like, if I'm going to compete, I want there to be lots of competition. And my goodness, there was sure a lot of competition. But anyways, it was amazing. So that was my second competition. The third competition was the WNBF Calgary. So that took place 3 weeks later. So I had 3 weeks in between. And again, my body was getting even more tired. It was more fatigued, and we kept pushing. Jeff actually asked me at one point, he's like, are you done pushing here? Like, because he knew that, we'd been going for about, I think it was 40 weeks at that point of prepping pretty much consistently for those entire 40 weeks, with the exception of 1 week-long diet break and 2 4-day-long diet breaks in the middle, which were maintenance calories. So he even asked me, like, are we done pushing here? Like, are you gonna be able to keep pushing? And it was like, well, we're this far already, let's keep pushing. So with those next 3 weeks, we kept the step count really high, and I kept pushing for more fat loss. So my weight dropped some more. I definitely got leaner, and boy, that was going into Calgary, that competition, that's the leanest I have ever been, was right before that competition. My skin felt paper thin pretty much all over, with the exception of a couple parts around my glutes, especially, and maybe some parts on my back. So I was very, very lean. It's funny, there's still room for more fat loss, but it's funny, my fat distribution pattern, I lost more fat on my right glute than my left glute. So like, you could see more lines on my right glute than my left glute, which was hilarious. But there's still more room for fat loss the next time I prep, believe it or not. But anyways, that was the leanest I got, was getting into WNBF Calgary, and holy smokes, I pushed hard. Motivation was super high. It was another Canadian competition. I'm Canadian, so it was exciting in that sense. So went ahead and I drove to Calgary, and the other competitions I flew to. So I drove to Calgary, and it was another great competition. That was, I think, the best that I looked on stage. The other thing too is, for my peaking, so the peak week leading up to the competitions, Jeff and I kind of experimented with slightly different methods for how I peaked, and peaking referring to mainly my carbohydrate intake. leading up to these competitions. How I distributed my carbohydrates, how many I had, if I tapered, if I increased, when that happened. I think that's when we really nailed the best peak, was that third competition. I was also at my leanest, so I think I looked my best. I got my favorite stage photos, a couple of them that I'll always hold on to, which was really, really special. Came 5th at that competition, so the competition there, huge lineup of middleweights. The stage was completely full of us. I'm happy I cracked top 5. And like just the caliber was absolutely incredible. It was the last competition. It was an international competition in Canada. The last one of the year is huge. I think it's the biggest one in Canada. It's one of the biggest in North America. It's an international competition. So there was a ton of athletes there. It was very, very high caliber. I remember being backstage at that one and thinking, holy moly, like this like now really what am I doing here in the mix? And I think I did okay. I think I did okay on stage. But I think the biggest takeaway was that was the best that I ever looked up to that point. And that in itself was very fulfilling for me. It was also really cool backstage. I was able to reconnect with Jen again, who was also in, she competed in INBF Battle of the Bay, also she was at WNBF Ontario, which was cool. So we actually connected, I think, for all of the competitions. We were at all the same competitions throughout the season. So I met her there again. She competed too, killed it. And then we had, I met another 3DMJ athlete, Tyler. Really awesome to get to meet him and to hang out a little bit backstage. He was also middleweight, so he placed one ahead of me. So he came 4th, I came 5th. He's a beast, looks fantastic, like tons of muscle. Also another Canadian, Jen's Canadian too, so that was really, really cool to be able to meet up with other 3DMJ Canadian athletes, which was really special as well. So that was a really awesome competition. Now I have to say, after that competition, my body was pretty darn beat up, pretty tired. So up to that point, I think I had been dieting pretty much consistently for the last 43 weeks. And it was another 3 weeks until Worlds. So talking to Jeff, like, he knew how I felt. He's been through so many other preps, and just expressing like, man, like I'm definitely like, I'm barely hanging in there at this point, getting to this last competition. And, I remember him saying to me, like, you don't have to go to Worlds. Like, you've done 3 competitions, you killed it. You don't have to do it. And I really liked the way that he coached me through that, by the way. Like, he gave me just the way that he presented this other option for me and gave me a ton of autonomy and just let me know that I'll support you no matter what you decide to do. And it's okay if you take the route of like just calling the competition ended at that point there, instead of continuing all the way to Worlds, which is what we initially planned to do. And just the way that he presented me that option, like I just thought that was like really, really great coaching, just giving me autonomy and making it feel like just letting me know that whatever I decided to do, that he was in my corner. And that was something, when he said that to me, like that was just something that it just took some pressure off my shoulders. But anyways, I decided, hey, we're gonna keep going. Let's do it. We're all the way here. Let's go to Worlds. Let's see how we do. But what we did was we ate up into the competition. So instead of pushing harder for more fat loss, at that point, what we did was we pretty much at that point called it quits for fat loss. So like I added, 75 grams of carbohydrates, like 200 to 300 more calories worth of carbohydrates to my diet, and with the intention of basically just giving me just enough energy to make it to the finish line there. So as nice as it, and funny enough, as nice as it was to be able to eat those extra carbohydrates going into that final competition for those next 3 weeks, and we also reduced my step count as well too. It almost, in some sense, like it was nice, don't get me wrong, to eat a little bit more, but at the same time it made it more difficult because it was like this added carbohydrate intake almost like teased my hunger. So it wasn't enough to satiate me, because I had this very growing extreme what would you call it? Hunger focus, food focus. So that wasn't going away. If anything, that was getting teased. It was making me want food more and more. And one of the things with bodybuilding, natural bodybuilding, is there's a little bit of a tug of war between you want to go to the competition to do your absolute best, but your body is wanting food, is like so focused on food and eating and not starving anymore. So it's this tug of war. Do you want to kill that competition, or do you just want to eat? And they're kind of fighting each other. And by the time I was getting to those last 3 weeks there, the food was starting to beat the the performance at the competition. Don't get me wrong, I still wanted to do really well, but I was admittedly just getting very tired from having been in the prep for so long. But we had a goal, and we stuck with it, and we stuck with it all the way through to the end. We made it. We got to Worlds. My body weight stayed about the same from I think it went up like a pound or two with the little bit of extra water retention glycogen from the carbohydrates I was eating, compared to the WNBF on Calgary. So we got to Seattle, drove there, and I competed. And again, each competition, the caliber was incredible. Worlds is, I think, arguably the biggest, most high caliber natural bodybuilding competition in the world. So naturally, those were the kind of athletes that I competed against. And yeah, it was a heck of an experience. It was amazing. I think that was not my best physique, because by that point, like, mentally, I was a little bit washed out, and I think that showed on my physique. I looked a little bit washed out, and Jeff and I talked afterwards, and you were like, yeah, you didn't look quite as good as you did leading up to it, which, you know, it makes sense. But hey, you live and you learn, and it was a heck of an experience. And now I can say that I went and competed with some of the best guys in the world at WNBF Worlds, and it was fantastic. And I was really lucky. I got to meet up with a couple other athletes again that I'd met along the way. So Tyler was there again, and Jen was there again. And also I met up with more of the coaches. So I briefly met with, geez Louise. So, well, I think I met with all of them except for, I think I at least saw all of them, but the ones that I mainly connected with were, of course, Jeff. Brad was there again. I had a short conversation or two with Eric Helms again. He was competing the next day. He won his pro card, which was an inspirational story in itself. But yeah, it was really special to meet up with those guys again, the 3DMJ guys, and a couple of other athletes again. Tyler was there, Jen was there again, and and Javier was there again too. Met up with him, said hello briefly, but yeah, it was really cool. Being on stage was great, of course. That's why I was there, and I we did it. We got the job done. And one of the coolest parts was my dad came and drove down. So he flew there from where he lives, which was really special. So he was there in the audience. I could hear him cheering for me. Then we went and had a celebratory, my first meal after having dieted almost completely straight. Aside from that, those little diet breaks, which still I ate the exact same foods. I literally ate the exact same foods for 46 weeks, which was nuts. I'm a creature of habit, so it actually wasn't that hard, but by the time I got to the end, it was nice to go. We went to a little seafood restaurant, not really sure, didn't know much about it. We were in Seattle, didn't know the area very well, just Googled it. We went there, it was amazing. And then we just kind of chilled for the late afternoon, early evening. Then we went and got dinner at another little place. What was it, like a barbecue place or something like that? And it was oh man, it was great. I was exhausted, but it was great, and it was really special to have my dad there visiting. So anyways, yeah, it was I learned a heck of a lot from that season, that's for sure. Man, I learned how far I can push myself. So I just, from the amount of time that I dieted and I trained hard, 46 weeks, never thought I'd do something like that. If I 10 years ago told myself that I would be doing a 46 week long prep where I dieted pretty much the whole time, I would be pretty surprised. So I pushed myself further than ever could. It was really a marathon. It was an endurance game, and I made it to the other end, even though there's some weeks where I thought, like, I have no idea how I'm going to get to the end of this. You know, when you're in week 20 and you're already starting to feel it a little bit, and you're like, I don't know how I'm going to do 26 more weeks of this. So my goodness, I could really, I'm really I learned a lot about how far I could push myself, and I pushed my limits. The other thing too that I pushed was, so I own a company, Jade Athletics, and the company, it grew during that entire prep. So I was learning how to balance what I felt from the prep with what I was doing with my business, my company, my career, and also my clients and the team that I work with now. So that was something that was a huge learning experience for me, and showing myself what I could accomplish. There was one big thing that I learned that for planning ahead, how to do this better next time, is I think that and Jeff and I talked about this, what we want to do, we think is a little bit smart, is maybe we reduce the time of the duration of the whole prep, because it was very long, and maybe we reduce the duration of the competition season itself. So I prepped for 46 weeks, and I think I did competitions of those 46 weeks for about a 13-week window. So I think next time I do it, maybe I'll compete within like an 8 or 9 week window tops, so maybe like 3 competitions, maybe 4 competitions within a smaller window. That way I don't get to those last 3 weeks and feel like, oh man, I'm just burnt out at this point. I'm just too hunger focused, too low energy. The hunger started to win over the competition performance desire. So maybe we know that for the next time. We also learned, getting to see me completely peeled, if you will, the areas that I can focus on in my body in my off season to build a little bit more muscle. So of course, Jeff and I talked, like, every bodybuilder wants to just build overall more muscle. So I want to build more muscle everywhere, but especially my delts, my back, but specifically like my upper back thickness. So that's like my trap 3s, trap 2s, and rhomboids, just like the meaty inner part of my back. So just like thickening it out. And then my delts, so that I get more of that accentuated V-taper X-frame from those front and back shots. And then also secondarily, a little bit more focus on my hamstrings and my glutes. I think my glutes could have been leaner, so I could have lost another 2 or 3 pounds of fat, which is crazy, because I was pretty much, I don't think I could have lost any more fat this time around anyways, but now I know what I have the potential to accomplish next time around. So there you go. I learned a whole heck of a lot. I pushed myself farther than I could. I definitely accomplished the goal, which was getting to a place that I've never been to before, improving my physique from any other time that I've been on stage. I think I blew it out of the water. I'm not trying to, so like it was just mission accomplished. And I think too, it was really valuable in learning like where I can improve, what parts of my body I can improve in the off season so I compete next time. I'm already excited for the next time I'm going to compete. My future plans at this point are I'm not going to compete at least for 2 years, but I think that it's going to be at least 3. I think that's what I'm thinking. So I'm going to spend at least 2 years primarily focused on like staying away from a deficit, staying in a surplus for as long as possible, maybe with 1 or 2 shortcut periods, lose some body fat so I can keep lean bulking. And from there, I am going to just focus on building muscle, probably compete in 3 years, maybe 4 if everything like the off season is going really well. I feel like I'm making a ton of progress, and also how the rest of life is going, how my business is thriving, and how I'm doing, where I'm at in life. But it won't be longer than 4 years. So I'm thinking 3 to 4 years is the next time I'll be on stage. And again, I want it to be the case where I build a good amount of muscle, where I am stage ready again. And it's like, it's not just like, oh yeah, he's a little bit better. It's like, no, like he looks a lot better. Muscularity is better, shape is better, symmetry is better. Like I really want to see a difference on my delts and back, everywhere. So that's what the goal is moving forward. It's the beginning of 2024. I've gained back a little bit of body fat, some healthy body fats over these last 7 weeks. So I'm feeling a whole heck of a lot better. The food focus is gone. My appetite is back to normal. I'm eating things because they taste good, not just because I feel like I'm starving. So like I feel like I'm normalized. Gym performance is just going up. So we're in a really good place. But anyways, that's how it went. Thank you guys. If you guys have followed me since like day 1 of last year, which I started prep almost exactly a year ago, a little bit more than exactly a year ago, actually, back in January 1st of 2023. It's 2024 now. So this is like the 1 year anniversary of starting prep, pretty much. If you've followed me, I made a lot of videos last year. Thanks for following me. And yeah, I'm gonna share a little bit more about how my off season is going intermittently. I'm thinking that I will make a video on what my current training split is going into the off season, and how I'm focusing on building my delts and my back and everything else. So still trying to build muscle everywhere, so I can maybe share my entire program with you and talk you guys through that. So if you want that, go ahead and like the video. That'd be awesome. But anyways, thank you guys all so much for being here, especially if you're still watching. Geez Louise. I had an amazing 2023. I'm excited for the next competition season already. Like, I've already got the part of me is already excited to do it again, which is crazy. So yeah, it's time to focus on building muscle. Anyways, thank you guys again so much. Go ahead and like the video if you like it. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see some intermittent updates on my process over the 2024 period in my off season. And yeah, I'll see you soon. Bye guys.